Hello and welcome back to Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. I got it. I'm Elizabeth Nelson here with Kay Johnson as always. And Kay, what have you been reading?
Well, I am into books about money. And I am reading Crash of the Titans at the moment. And it is, the title is Greed, Hubris, the Fall of Merrill Lynch, and the Near Collapse of the Bank of America.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Well, that's right, rolls right off. It's about the financial collapse of 2008, 2007, the subprime mortgages.
Yes.
And Merrill Lynch was a big player in that market and had billions of dollars tied up in subprime mortgages. And they needed to get them off their books, and the price kept dropping. And in an investment bank like they operated, they had to maintain a certain amount of collateral or money on hand. So when they wrote things down, they had to find more money. And so now they've sold all the assets they can sell. And I'm not sure that, well, obviously since Merrill Lynch no longer exists, or it exists under Bank of America, things didn't go that well. And what's really astonishing to me is the money these guys make, because like their base salary is $600,000, which is a significant amount of money, and their bonus guaranteed is $39 million. That's 1 year. I mean, it'd be really easy to be super rich in like 5 years.
That's ridiculous.
It's
just ridiculous.
That's why they take helicopters to the Hamptons and Lord knows what else. But that book is really good. It's like 500 pages, 400 pages. So I'm probably 3/4 of the way in.
Okay.
And you're dealing with people who have massive egos, and they all have big egos. So it's sort of like, I'm amazed there's a room big enough that they can all be in. So, but I highly recommend Crash of the Titans. If you like financial information delivered as a novel, this is it. Because it's easy reading.
Okay.
How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I took a page out of your book because I had a book club. So I have a group of people, like book people that I talk to on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. We're not politically correct with that here. So we do like a little book club, and then everybody talks about it in a group message.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun. But I didn't pick the book that we read, but it's called Love of the Hunt by Stephen Ross. And this is a horror book, but it is basically zombies.
I love it. Zombies.
Yeah, zombies. So it's basically the book is written from the point of view of a guy who has turned.
Oh, he's a zombie.
He's a zombie or whatever. They don't have a name for what they are, but they're basically, it's sort of a zombie. They eat people, so I'm calling them zombies. But it's this guy and his wife from before the change, and they're wandering around looking for food, aka people. And it was an interesting book to read because I don't read zombie books ever, as everybody who watches this show knows. But different to have a point of view from said zombie. I will go out and saying, if you were looking for a happy, feel-good, everybody's happy at the end of this book, this is not the book for you. We all got done with the book, and everybody was like, and the book was like, it was really well written, but what was the point of that? It's like you finished the book feeling bad for everybody involved.
So was that the book your book club read?
Yes. This
Really?
Love of the Hunt. And then there is a second book called Fear of the Hunt by the same author, Stephen Ross, which follows the main character again, and it has sort of a holiday flair to it.
Are you reading that book?
I did read it, yes, and because they're both pretty short reads. The one thing that was nice about the online book club is since it was more of an indie author, the girl that kind of put the whole thing together had reached out to him, and so he jumped in for a little Spaces
that's
group.
cool.
So yeah, but everybody wanted to be like, there's no hope. There's no hope in the book. That's the problem. Because the people that are the main characters have already turned. There is no going back. And
Why did he write it?
I don't remember, but it's a horror book. I think I haven't read anything else by him, but it was interesting. I can't read a whole lot of horror. Like, I used to read them all the time. I read all of like the R.L. Stein's Fear Street books, and I did Stephen King and all that, but now I can't do that so much that I live in the country and things can actually sneak up on my house.
Things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, but so it's really well written, quick read, but don't go into it expecting everybody to wind up happy and everybody to be cured at the end of it, because that does not happen. What else have you been reading, Miss Kay?
Well, I am a huge, huge, huge fan of Carl Hiaasen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Carl Hiaasen is just laugh out loud funny. I just burst out laughing. And so I reread his last book, which is called Squeeze Me. And it takes place in Florida. And if you know Carl Hiaasen at all, the author, he is actually, or was a columnist with the Miami Herald, and is really about ecology and the overbuilding of Florida and stuff. And so that's like his real life. And then he uses all of that sort of as fodder for his novels. And in Squeeze Me, it's really kind of a takeoff on President Trump, because the president is in Florida and has certain peculiar tastes, like the tan that he has, and his wife, who can't stand him. And then it all starts out at a party at a place like Mar-a-Lago, and a lady disappears. And she disappears because she's eaten by a snake. A large, large, large snake.
Gosh.
And anyway, they can't find her.
Well, obviously.
Because she's been eaten by a snake. But nobody can know that because of the fact that it would affect bookings at this place. And so the manager, they call up a snake wrangler, and she comes and chops the head off the snake and removes the snake. And in Florida, apparently, you have to submit the snake carcass to the state.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they track them.
Well,
because
I think that in Florida, they have an issue with people releasing their pet snakes.
Yeah, and this was a boa constrictor, which is not natural.
People release their snakes that they can either they get too big or they can't take care of them anymore. They release them into the Everglades.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened here. So she has this snake in a freezer in a storage unit. Well, the manager of the club hires two guys to steal the snake's body because they cannot have it going to the state because this woman is in there.
Yes.
And so these two guys break into the snake wrangler's house and sort of trash it. And then they finally find her storage unit. So they go in and get the snake's body out of there. Well, then they decide that they have to get rid of the snake. And somehow they cut the woman's body out of the snake.
Okay.
And they put her in cement in a building that's being built.
Jimmy Hoffa her?
Yes.
Gosh.
And then somehow the car they stole, the trunk flies open and the snake flies out, and they can't really stop and get it because it's on the freeway. So they're gone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the first lady's coming, and they stop because there's a snake in the middle of the road. So somehow there's a friend of this woman who was eaten.
Yes.
They're like older women in their like 70s and 80s, and they drink a lot. So they put together a fund to pay for information. Well, the guy who stole the snake calls in thinking he can get the money, the one who buried the woman in the foundation. And so they keep sort of following this guy, and they end up finding the body. So now they have a body. They don't know how she died because they don't have the snake. And it goes around and around.
Oh my
But the very
gosh.
best part, and I'm giving the whole book away, but it's too funny, is there's a guy whose job it is to test the tanning bed every day. He's the exact same size as the president, and he has to weigh in every morning to make sure he's the exact same size. And then there's a Norwegian guy whose job it is to service the tanning bed because it's a special unit from Norway. So anyway, this guy who tests the bed went out and ended up having a night out with some girl, and they find him drunk as a skunk on the beach. But he feels he can still test the tanning bed.
Gosh.
So apparently the tanning bed seems to be operating correctly.
Okay.
So the president goes to have his daily tan. Well, for some reason, the bed did not work correctly, and his hair was singed, and his face was singed, and his body was frightfully.
Oh my gosh.
So, and he had a big party that night. So the guy from Norway's fired. He's sent back to Norway with the tanning bed. And the president goes to the party, but he cannot be seen with his fried hair. So he puts on a mask, a wooden mask. And
Gosh.
no one is sure why he's wearing the wooden mask, but they think it's like some type of masculinity thing that, he's just really a masculine guy. And so it's a wild evening with the mask because he can't see out of it, and he talks and no one can hear him.
Carl Hyacinth is
I'm super.
he's too crazy for me.
Oh, really?
I can't. I can't. I read one, and it was written for. He wrote a book for kids.
Oh, I love Squeeze.
There's a bunch of them. The one
yeah.
I read was the one where he blows up the casino on the river.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember why, but
you'll
he
be
did.
glad to know that Carl Hyacinth has a new book coming out.
Gosh.
It's coming out May 13th, and it's called Fever Beach. And it says, laugh out loud, funny, tackling the current chaotic and polarized American culture. The afternoon of September 1st, dishwater gray and rainy, a man named Dale Figo picked up a hitchhiker on Gus Grissom's Boulevard in Tangelo Shores, Florida. The hitchhiker reminded him of Danny DeVito. Asked for a lift to the interstate. He said he would take them there after finishing an errand. So you can only imagine what happens next. So anyway, sorry to take so much time on
No,
this,
you're
Carl.
fine. If we're talking about books we're excited for, I'm looking forward to September because we are going to get The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osmond.
Oh, yes.
The 5th book in the Thursday Murder Club series. And it sounds to me like they're planning a wedding.
Ooh, who's getting married?
It says, who's got time to think about murder when there's a wedding to plan? It's been a quiet year for the Thursday Murder Club. Joyce is busy with table plans and first dances. Elizabeth is grieving. Ron is dealing with family troubles. And Ibrahim is still providing therapy to his favorite criminal. But when Elizabeth meets a wedding guest who's in trouble, kidnap and death are hot on their heels once more. A villain wants access to an uncrackable code and will stop at nothing to get it. Plunged back into action once more, can the gang solve the puzzle and a murder in time?
So it must be, who's the guy with all the tattoos who's now a
Well,
good guy?
it's either Donna and Bogdad,
That's who I'm thinking.
or it could be Donna's mother and the
Yes.
other detective.
Yes,
Whose
yes.
name? Chris? I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. Something like that.
Yes,
but yeah,
it's
there's
one of those.
Or it could be Ron has a girlfriend too.
But
I don't know.
I think it's Donna and
Bogdad.
yeah, because Bogdad was a bad guy that became a good guy.
Well, bad guy. It's a relative term.
Yeah, with these.
In these day and age, it's a relative term, but I'm excited for that. They haven't been filming. The first book is being made into a movie for Netflix, and Christopher Columbus is directing it.
Oh, that should be good.
So yeah, so we'll see when that comes out. But I'm excited for that one to come out for
I'm
sure.
excited for the TV show because they cast some really great actors.
The only one I'm not too sure about is Pierce Brosnan.
Now, he's the one I was thinking that was okay.
I just blanked on his name already.
But it's Helen Mirren and...
Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley. I wasn't familiar with the lady playing Joyce.
Right, she's the one I didn't
And
know
then
either.
Ron, that's who Pierce Brosnan is playing. I don't know, I always kind of figured Ron is more of a...
Oh, like a football kind of...
Yeah, rugby, real more rough and tough. But
not sort of a leading
I'm
man.
not the...
Maybe he won't look like he does.
I don't,
Who knows?
I don't think it's that easy to change Pierce Brosnan's appearance.
That might be.
Let's see, another book that I finished. Just finished the newest in the My Beloved Dream Harbor series.
Oh, yes.
So this is the ones with the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and those books. And the fourth book is called The Strawberry Patch Pancake House.
Ooh.
So this book, it involves you see all of our favorite well-to-do loving characters that we've all had. But this book, our two main people in it are Archer and Iris. So Archer is a chef, and he's been working in Paris for the last however many years. And he gets a call that a girl that he used to work with has passed away, and you have a 5-year-old daughter that she didn't tell you about.
Oh.
So, and because we have just lovable characters in books, he packs up his life in Paris and comes to Dream Harbor to try to establish a relationship with her. So he's bought a house and he takes a job at the diner. And the lady who owns the diner says he can do whatever he wants. So he starts changing things, and he changes the pancake recipe. And the people in town go nuts. Nobody will eat the pancakes, and everybody's complaining about them. And since he is going to be working, one of the ladies at the pancake house, there's a lady in town named Iris, and she's a free spirit, does a lot of random jobs. Like she teaches aqua size at the Y, and she does yoga, cheer yoga at the senior center, and all those kinds of things. And so she takes a job as the nanny for his daughter. And so it's a live-in position, and of course that creates a whole bunch of other fun and intriguing issues. But as always, I just love the little Dream Harbor characters, and they have these town meetings that the entire town turns out to. And so everybody is chiming in on things, and so he stands up because he wants to ask a question about if anybody knows the actual pancake recipe, and everybody's just calling out, and well, we were in and it wasn't any good, and when are you bringing this back, and why did you take this away? And it's just
madness.
It's complete insanity. But I mean, everybody that's in this town has these great hearts, and there is going to be another one. The next book in the series comes out in September or November, and this one is The Gingerbread Bakery, which there have been 2 characters through the other 4 books that Mac owns the bar, and then I don't remember the girl's name. She owns the bakery. And the entire series, they've constantly been butting heads, and everybody's like, you two just need to make out and get it over with already. So we're finally getting their story next. So that'll be really fun to check out. Yes, The Gingerbread Bakery. But, again, the covers are deceiving. They are rather spicy books. Oh. They're romance novels. So that's your caveat and your warning there. But I love them. They're so fun to read. But the covers make them look like they're these cutesy little books, and there's some other hidden stuff in them. But they're very, very fun.
I read a series of books, and I don't remember the names, but they took place in a small town, and a woman she managed like a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
And it was always written at Christmas, and they came. Different people came, and all the things going on in the town and stuff. And those were good. There were like 4 or 5 of those. The people in the town all stayed the same, but the guests
people that came
and went. And so they were good. I can't remember what the names were.
I really enjoyed them. It's been nice to have a break from stuff that is, especially after zombies with no hope.
Yes, you need some hope.
Yes, you need the Strawberry Patch Pancake House.
That's
right.
And
I mean, this one had extra to it too, because not only is he trying to adjust to life in the town and running this restaurant, but he's also trying to get to know his daughter Olive for the first time. And so, and originally, at the beginning of the book, she won't talk to him. She doesn't want to eat his food because he makes,
Funny
fancy food.
Fancy
It's not
food.
like, whereas like Iris comes up the next morning and she's like, have you ever had a Pop-Tart? And gives the kid a Pop-Tart. And the dad's like, what is she eating? And she's like, it's a Pop-Tart. She ate it. We're good. That's the important thing. But yes, so I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited for the next one to come out.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, another book that I read and I really like is people may know Georgette Heyer is she's dead now, and her books were popular 40s, 50s, but '60s, and she's known for her gothic romances, kind of her, but she wrote a series of mysteries that are just great, and I love them, and I actually went back and reread them, and they have titles like Duplicate Death, which of course has to do with bridge.
Okay.
Duplicate Bridge. And then I have to page through here to see if I can find the rest. Envious Casca, which is the name of a house.
Okay.
People come at Christmas and people die, of course.
Oh, as they do.
But
A weekend in the country in Europe, I'm sure.
yeah, that's right. Oh, there's always snow, and there's always,
Yes.
stuff going on. But it's Georgette Heyer. I really like her books, and I was able to get them all as ebooks for Kindle. And I assume somewhere out there in the world there's hardcover books and paperbacks.
Yeah.
So if you like mysteries and you like an older style mystery that's got some depth to it, I would highly recommend Georgette Heyer, because she has the same detectives in them, and they're good.
Good. It's always fun when you can find something. I always like when I see books I've read that other people are reading them.
Yes, yes.
But sometimes, yesterday I was at, the boys were taking dance, and so they had dance practice, and there's a waiting area where, the parents can sit, because it's just a half hour, and we live in a small town, so there's not really anywhere, unless you want to go to the liquor store across the street, there's nowhere else really to go. So I was sitting there reading, and I'm reading Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is the third book in her Empyrean series. And so I'm sitting there reading my book, and I happen to look up, and the dad across the way is reading Iron Flame, which is the second book to my third book. And he looks up, and he looks at my book, and I look at his book, and he goes, don't say anything. And I looked up at him, and I just said, good luck. Good luck, because it ends on a huge cliff note. But he's just like, don't say anything. I don't want to know what you're thinking. I was more on the fact like, hey, you're a guy. I've never seen a guy read this book. I know they exist in the wild, but hey, I want to be your friend. So it was just really funny, because to be sitting there and looking, oh, it's a book. Oh, I can't tell you what
So
happens.
he saw you were reading the third book.
I'm reading the third book, and he's just like,
reading...
don't tell me what's going on. And it's like, that book's going to put you through plenty of turmoil, because I know what happens on that last page.
Ooh.
At least he doesn't have to wait the year for the third book to come out like I did.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the one thing with people reading books that I've already read. I'm like, you don't have to wait the year. The rest of us had to wait for the next book.
And that's a problem. Like Carl Hiaasen hasn't written a book for maybe 4 years. His brother was a newspaper editor, and he was killed when a disgruntled person came into the office and started shooting. And so his book, Squeeze Me, was dedicated to his brother.
Yeah.
And then this would be the first one since that. So I'm glad that he's back.
Good. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our time for this episode, so we will say goodbye. If you've read anything or want us to read anything or talk about books, shoot us a message on Facebook or our email at offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.